So I love the idea of composting, right? Making sure my food scraps don't end up in one of Chicago's landfills. But to be honest with y'all, I don't really know how it works. And I'm pretty sure I ain't got the space for it in my apartment. Now, if that also sounds like you, maybe we should try Waste Not. Waste Not provides convenient curbside composting, making it easy to reduce waste at home. So maybe give it a try. Head to wastenotcompost.com. CityCast Chicago listeners can get a free month to test out Waste Not by using the promo code CityCastCompost. Again, that's wastenotcompost.com. What's up, y'all? I'm back with some more shows you gotta check out at Ravinia this summer. Now, if you missed it, Ravinia is North America's longest running outdoor music festivals, and it has one of the most packed lineups I've ever seen. On July 27th, you can catch Killer Queen, a tribute to Queen, or check out Gypsy Kings with Nicholas Reyes on July 31st, or maybe see Indigo Girls and Melissa Etheridge on August 11th. Choose your concert and choose how you want to watch it. You could pack your own picnic on the lawn or sit up close in the pavilion, or you could be like me and do both of them. Buy your tickets today only at ravinia.org. Today on CityCast Chicago, what is the definitive Chicago pizza? Is it a huge, cheesy, triangle cut deep dish pizza or a crispy and crunchy square cut thin crust pizza? Now, this question will likely set off a fiery debate in any bar or local corner of the internet, but recently, big chains like Pizza Hut have gotten in on the game.
Pizza Hut, you owe Chicago an apology.
Tavern style pizza is our thing. Why couldn't you be happy with deep dish like all the tourists? That's good.
And you just had to make it so crispy and delicious.
It's perfection!
They put the toppings all the way to the edge.
It's cut in the shareable square.
That's delicious!
So I'm here with producer Michelle Navarro and CityCast marketing director Caroline Patton, and we've got your guide to tavern style pizza. It's Wednesday, July 17th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. So as the commercial reminds us, the Chicago thin crust, people got so many different names for it. Square cut, party cut, tavern style. Some of us just call it pizza. You know, thin crust, toppings all the way out to the edge, sort of cracker, crunchy crust. Michelle, when you watched this commercial for the first time, what'd you think?
I thought it was really funny. I mean, I'm someone that if I see Chicago in any like national way, I get excited. And as a person who just like has always loved thin crust pizza, I was like, that's cool. I mean, I haven't had Pizza Hut in so long. Like, I don't think I'm going to get to try it.
I'm not going to try the Pizza Hut with Raleigh.
I'm not going to try the Pizza Hut like pizza, but I think it is cool. And interesting that like people are kind of picking up this style of pizza now, and they kind of have been, especially for like the last couple years for sure. It's gotten more popularity, but it's cool.
For sure. I remember having this conversation where we were talking about deep dish. Like coming up, there were really just like two kinds of pizza. There was thin and then there was stuffed. And like stuffed pizza, like stuffed deep dish was typically reserved for like, you know, special occasions, maybe birthdays. You got a bunch of people coming over, everybody going to grandma's house. But if we was just like, we gonna get pizza, we was probably getting thin crust pizza from somewhere. Caroline, as somebody coming to Chicago, what was your thought when you heard Chicago pizza? What did you picture in your mind moving to the city?
Deep dish for sure.
Okay.
I've been here for 6 years now, and I maybe would say that I don't know if tavern style is getting its recognition. It didn't get the recognition it deserved until maybe the last couple of years, at least from a transplant coming in. I do date someone that's a local Chicagoan though, and I'm pretty sure that he is the reason that I know about tavern style. I don't think I like happened upon it. I think he, as a local Southside Chicagoan, was like, no, deep dish is not it. LOL. It's actually tavern style.
Yeah, I think me and Michelle, when we talk about it, it's because it was just pizza. It's just like the way you looked at it. I didn't even realize this conversation was happening outside the city. Growing up, I always knew there was sort of a New York, Chicago pizza rivalry, but that just felt like the larger Chicago, New York back and forth. But it was only until starting the podcast that I even realized that people were like, no, this idea that deep dish was like for tourists or thin crust was sort of gay kept. I was like, I mean, we just like good pizza. We get it when we get it from wherever we get it. I wasn't even paying attention to it. What do you think makes it special or makes it different, Michelle? Like, you just got back from New York. What do you think makes it, so unique to Chicago? And is it better than New York pizza as someone who lived there for a little bit?
No, I'm a big fan of New York style. I really do love it. But the reason why I think I appreciate it so much is because I come from a tavern style, thin crust pizza background. Like, that's what I grew up on. And so they're both thin. New York style's thin. Tavern style is also thin. But I do know that tavern style has just a little bit more of a crunch to it. Which I prefer. New York's is a little like, they're going to be a little burnt at the bottom too, a little charred, which is also really good. But it definitely is a little more floppy. And that's why I think the tavern style cut, just like the square cut, is supreme as well. Like, it's just superior in my mind. What makes tavern or thin crust or whatever you want to call it is just the fact that it's thin crust pizza, so you can have a lot of it. It's cut in its squares. The toppings, I think it's funny that Pizza Hut, it did do a good job at describing it. Like, the fact that they got the detail about like the toppings running all the way to the corners. I'm like, that is so like what you would see. Like, the entire thing is like damn near covered in toppings, which I love.
Do you know what they didn't get right though? Did you see the size of that pizza in that last shot? It is like the size of my hand. No, it's so small. I'm like, don't even tell me that's a large tavern style pizza, because when I think of tavern style pizza, I think of like bigger.
I appreciate opening the gate for some criticism, because I'm like, they also tried to hit like, let's go to downtown and get a little bridge image. Let's make sure we got Soldier Field.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make sure we get some like vaguely, let's imply that the guy might be kind of a mobster at the end, just because of his voice, like his little, like he went
sitting
for the
at the
knuckles
table.
and stuff. Right? So they still tried to give off like a stereotypical Chicago at the end.
What's your deal, Pizza Hut?
Your secret's out, Chicago. Try any of our large Chicago tavern-style recipes for just $12 each.
Hey, Pizza Hut, you owe Chicago an apology.
Sorry, Chicago. No one out pizza's the Hut.
Apology accepted.
But this idea, as Caroline would say, that like the showing it to the rest of the world that like, no, this is our style of pizza. It feels like in the social media age, there is become a better sense of how outsiders see Chicago, how people from other cities see Chicago. And once we realize like, oh, y'all think it's, deep dish, then it felt like, okay, now there's been stronger promotion of, no, it's like thin crust, straight up. That's what most people are getting. Caroline, where do you go to get your thin crust?
In this last 6 months of this year, I think my two favorites, Vito and Nick's, which I think most people would say is like the OG, or in the conversation of the OG.
Definitely.
And then almost like the new age style of it, I also tried, which is Middlebrow's Tavern Style Tuesday pizzas. And they're both really good. They're both actually really different, like in the conversation of a tavern style. So I don't, again, as someone who's like not from here, not born or raised here, like I wasn't exposed to this tavern style conversation before.
Vito and Nick's is in Ashburn, been around since the 1920s, I believe, and Middlebrow is in Logan Square. Michelle, what about you? Where do you go?
So most recently, I've really been a fan since I moved into the area of Phil's Pizza on Bridgeport. It's on 35th, close to Sox. And Phil's Pizza is also it's one of those places like Vito and Nick's that is just kind of on this list of just like the classic tavern styles that you have in the city. Mm-hmm. Phil's Pizza is delicious. I mean, my go-to, and this is what I usually get, would be just like pepperoni, onions, green pepper. I also love getting, which I know Vito Nick's does this as well, and a lot of other tavern spots do, is having the giardiniera on, which I think is like the most Chicago you can get, because I love giardiniera. I probably said that in a bunch of episodes already,
so
but
good.
I love giardiniera.
It's so good on pizza too, I agree. It's the best on pizza.
Phil's is cash only, but they are the friendliest. Like, I usually do pickup because I live so close, but recently we ordered delivery, and they had told me like, hey, by the way, like it was a Sunday night, so like I knew it was gonna be a while anyway, but they were so friendly. They were just like, oh, it's gonna be a while. The delivery guy's calling me, oh, hey, like I'm like 5 blocks away. I'm like, damn, like no one's ever really cared this much before. And I appreciate it so much. Like such friendly people, and just like a really big staple in the community. Another spot that I've been kind of really interested in, I've been lucky enough to have a couple times now, is Novel Pizza Cafe, which is pretty new pizza spot in the Pilsen area, which, you know, also specializes in tavern style pizza, but with a twist, the Filipino style sausage, the longanisa, with also the giardiniera, and it's really good. You guys should check it out if you haven't.
Longanisa is like my favorite thing ever. And I have to now go like get that pizza.
Their tomato sauce is like spicy, like it has a little kick to it with the sweet longanisa and then like the spice and vinegar taste of the giardiniera. Like it really just ties it together. And I'm also going to pour one out for growing up, Pizza Castle in Gage Park. It was on 55th. It was just a couple blocks away from where I lived. It also used to always be kind of like on the old list of the tavern style pizzas. Every Halloween, they would give out pizza squares to the children. Like you cannot get more real than that. And that was my favorite thing. About 2 years ago, they moved to Hickory Hills for more space, so that's great. It is a little far for me now, but I'm really glad that, you know, they have more space now, and I'm sure the pizza's just as good as I remember.
All right, hold up for a second. My pizza just got here. I gotta go get it real quick. We'll be right back. I don't know about y'all, but I am sick of the spam calls, spam emails, spam texts. I'm over it. I'm up to over 100 combined a day. And it turns out a lot of that spam starts with our personal data being sold. Data brokers basically collect info like our address, phone number, health and financial records, and then sell them off to third parties. Then that data is used to target us. That's why I think it's time to check out Incogni. It scrubs our personal info from the web. Nah, seriously. It takes just a few minutes to set up, then it'll tackle 180 plus data brokers, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee if you ain't feeling it. Protect your data, time, and sanity. Use code CityCast for 55% off their annual plan at incogni.com. That's spelled INCOGNI.com. So my choice is very simple. The reason I need to take a break is because it literally just arrived at my house. An Italian Fiesta. This has always been my favorite pizza. When I think back to our parents being like, we not cooking, we gonna get, my mom being like, we gonna order pizza. Italian Fiesta was the first thing we always thought of. It is greasy. I always get just basic like a sausage or ground beef with like onion, maybe some green peppers. But y'all, hold on, let me open this thing.
Let me see. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today.
Get the sounds in the mic. Get the paper unwrapping in the...
So they always, you know, put it in like a little papers, staple it up, throw a piece of foil on the top.
Hold up though, we gotta talk about the paper, because if your pizza comes in the like paper,
yeah,
especially the one with like the map of Italy, like that, like the one where it's like red, green, and white, like that's the certified packaging.
It's so oily. Like everything is sticking to the foil.
It's fine. I haven't eaten today. I'm so hungry. Oh, the burnt edges look so good. Oh my God, the burnt edges look so good.
Burnt edges, super thin. Like we said, the toppings are spread all the way around. Some Italian seasoning. You can see the melted cheese. Just a nice medium pizza. And the great thing about Italian Fiesta, I got this one from 47th and Lake Park. They also got one on 71st Street, not too far from Jeffrey. And then they got one over on 82nd and Halsted in Gresham. But every box comes with like this little circle coupon at the top. And if you punch it out and collect them, you get $10 off any medium or large pizza once you get like 15 of these. And it used to be $15 off. They got cheap over the years. But I would like to say I've probably cashed in on like 10 pizzas in my adult life. And so it takes 15 to cash in on one, y'all. And I just said I cash in on 10. So do the math on how many pizzas have been ordered over the years. But that's my one and only. And I know a bunch of people A lot of my friends who don't agree with me say it's too greasy, say it's too overrated, that I should get better, I should do better for myself. Similar to like the hot dog conversation. It's almost like, oh, once you get older, you should seek out the artisan pizza or the, give me my Italian Fiesta. But I will give a shout out to a couple of the South Side and like South suburb places like Aurelio's, Beggars. They don't necessarily do tavern style, but their thin crust is, a favorite of a lot of my friends and family. And so shout out to them as well.
Beggars was the first pizza I had in Chicago because it was above my office that I worked in. And so like, I just got it.
I have also had some from like the Southwest Triangle, which is, Rosangela's in Evergreen Park, Baracco's in Beverly, and Milano's down in Morgan Park. And so I have ventured out. I've tried others and enjoy them. But the staple, the one sitting right by my side right now, is always going to have my heart. Michelle, can you talk about a little bit of the origin? Like why has, again, whatever you call it, tavern, party cut, square cut, pizza, Chicago thin, why is this, why does it find its origins in Chicago, or how did it find its origins in Chicago?
We kind of talked about how it's similar to New York style in the fact that, of course, the crust is thin, but it does have, it's firm enough to have kind of like this crunch to it. People like you also mentioned, you use the word cracker to sometimes describe it. I think that another difference is that like in New York, bakers who immigrated from Italy kind of like would use the traditional ways to make pizza like they did over there by tossing the dough, in the air by hand. Tavern owners in Chicago, they created Chicago's thin crust pizza by rolling their dough or using like mechanical sheeters. So they're kind of like passing through the dough to get as thin as possible. And the name, of course, tavern style literally comes from the fact that it was tavern owners who created this pizza. And so it's said that, working class immigrants, working class Chicagoans kind of made the tavern style popular because, they would have a beer or a smoke in one hand and then a piece of pizza on the other. And of course, this also relates to the idea of why they cut it into squares, because the idea was like at a bar, you're not going to have plates, you're not going to have proper utensils. So you kind of just grab it with a napkin or you eat it on a napkin instead of having to like hold this whole slice. And so that's kind of where the origin starts. Around a year ago, Bloomberg came out with this article saying that tavern style was taking over the US, which is like very fitting, how we were talking about Pizza Hut kind of blowing up this campaign about their new style pizza. And so it is really cool, especially as a Chicagoan, as a Southsider, like it feels really cool that people are finding out about tavern style, not just in the city, but like everywhere else. Because I've gotten into so many arguments with people who are from New York, who are like, oh yeah, deep dish. I'm like, no. Don't use that one to like compare your pizza with our pizza. Like if New York has to compete with a pizza, it has to be thin crust. It has to be tavern style. Like that's the fair game to me.
And that's not like a pejorative to deep dish. And I know it is for some people, because some people will go, deep dish is only for tourists, it's not good. But no. Like, no, there's a nostalgia. Beyond like it tasting good and things like that, there's also a nostalgia connected for a lot of Chicagoans to deep dish. But it is to say, for a lot of people, like the pizza we were most likely having on a regular basis, if we were going out to get a slice, I don't remember trying to go get a deep dish slice. I know plenty of times grabbing slices from Italian Fiesta or other pizza places in my neighborhood. And then even just thinking about party cut, like obviously it was important growing up if you had like a pizza party at school or something. But when I started working at my family's roller skating rink out in Richmond Park when I was in high school, we were serving 4, 5, 6 parties every morning, Saturday and Sunday. Home Run Inn Pizza, shout out to Home Run Inn. And we wouldn't have survived if we weren't cutting that thing into square cuts to serve all of those people. And so not only do I love eating it, my connection to actually having to serve multiple parties on a daily basis, it's another reason why thin crust just reigns supreme in my mind. For y'all, is it even like an argument at this point? Is it for you now, Caroline, when you think Chicago pizza, which is the one that comes to your head now, 6 years in?
You know, it is still deep dish, and maybe people will be mad about that. I don't understand why Chicagoans are so adverse to like owning and like loving deep dish. I don't get it. It's like very unique. It like to me, tavern style, you could have a conversation that like, is tavern style more similar to New Haven style? Is it like, I think cutting it in party squares makes it different than that. Maybe people are gonna be so mad at me for saying this. Like, I don't really care because I just feel like a tavern style is Chicago, but it could be similar in a lot of conversations to other pizzas. Like, I think that's an objective opinion. Deep dish is so unique, and it's like, to your point, it's not like I'm getting it every day. Maybe that's what people get mad about, is the assumption that Chicagoans eat deep dish pizza for breakfast. Like, yeah, no, we don't eat it for breakfast, but it is good. I think it is good. And I think it is like a nice novelty item that I don't understand why Chicago doesn't like, is so ashamed to claim. But when I think of the best tasting, my personal taste, I would eat tavern style over. But if I think of what is the most what is Chicago and what makes something uniquely Chicago, it's deep dish. Like, I don't think tavern style gives a unique perspective necessarily. And maybe that's contentious to say.
Michelle, for you, is there an argument there when you think of, when you just say pizza in Chicago, is there any argument of which is the first to come to mind?
When we say let's get pizza, it's like we're not talking about deep dish. And it's not to say anything bad about deep dish. It's like if we wanted deep dish, we'll say deep dish. Like, it's almost like it's still pizza, but it's just growing up, it was just a variation of pizza, which happens to be really good and which happens to be available to us and not available as in other cities, which is cool because it makes us feel special, which I love. But yeah, I automatically, when I think about pizza, I think about the typical thin crust Chicago pizza. And when other people talk about their pizzas, like, that's the one that I kind of wanted to go up against. Part of me, though, really wants to be different and be like, I wish I could embrace deep dish more and be like, yeah, we're different. But I think like day to day, like when I think about like pizza, like I think about thin crust pizza. So to me, like, that's the one that I'll always go for.
Facts. That was the one I was trying to grab when I was coming back from school. The one I showed my friends when they visited. But I think there's room for all. And one thing I definitely think there's room for is more and more lists. Like, there is no exhaustive list, not ours, not any of the places you'll see around the Chicago, any of the publications you'll see around Chicago. But we want to hear from y'all. What are y'all favorite Chicago thin crust pizza places? Let us know at 773-780-0246. I want to give a huge thank you to our producer, Michelle Navarro.
Thanks, Jacoby.
And shout out to CityCast Marketing Director, Caroline Patton.
Thanks for having me.
Before we let you go, make sure you're tapped in to all CityCast Chicago has to offer by bookmarking our website, chicago.citycast.fm. There you'll find our neighborhood guides, our latest articles, our city hacks, and you can subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Chicago. Of course, I can't let you go without some good news. The Bronzeville Art District Trolley Tour is back this Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. See 5 Southside galleries for free. All you got to do is RSVP. You can check the link in the show notes for more info. As always, we appreciate you for listening and reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow, getting in on the Millennium Park 20th anniversary celebrations. We'll talk to you then. Peace. No, seriously, I got a whole ass pizza on the whack.